I'm Richie. As already everything said, one thing I want to mention is the podcast. You see that I do some recordings out there, and they will all be available in TUL at f.fm. Software Testing Unleashed, a community podcast, so you can gain some insights. But I will rush into the topic of today, and starting in my childhood. Maybe you remember the times when you have these computers, this old stuff. Oh, you are too young for it. Too young for that. Where software was crafting. You build in these jumpers. You decide how much memory you have. Then you got this one black box and put it into the phone box, and then it's oh, you were online. What were the times I? Great. The things have changed since then a little bit. And when we think of technology, we people have a problem with our brain that we cannot really predict what will bring the future. So we will try to interpolate what's happening from the past to the future and said, okay, 10 years ago, we had the iPhone 7 or 6 or something like that, and now we have 16 or 17, and then will be the iPhone 26 in 10 years. But as you know, technology increases exponentially, and we people have a good problem to think about exponential growth. So we tried it a few years ago with our pandemic stuff. It didn't really work well. So we cannot imagine really what happens in the future, but we know it will be a huge increase of technology and more innovation out there, which leads to more software. Because the things, and you know now we have this other thing, it's called AI. Maybe you heard of it. It changes the world dramatically. So, and what's behind that? It's always a lot of software. So in former times, we had a huge innovation growth by all the machine work, by all the engineering stuff, like here we see at this venue too. But now it's all driven by software. So I think the next years and the next month and the next time will be crazy times for us testers and QA people to deal with that. So there will be a lot to test, and I think we have a lot of work up front to do. And I can to the remark, I don't think that AI will replace the tester soon. So I think there will be a lot to do in the next time. But to understand what I think I will predict for the future of testing and how to build quality as a mindset, I will give you a short, brief, incomplete history of my perspective of software testing, how it evolves over the last decades. And I asked ChatGPT to give them some fancy names that you are very happy with cool marketing names. So I give them let them some names created by ChatGPT. And this evolving of testing and quality, I see it in small teams over the history, in companies, in personal life, when I talk to testers and test managers. And I will give you this introduction now. That it starts often like random doing something, not really doing quality, not really doing testing, but quality happens or happens not. There is no focus, no measurability, we have no metrics, and after we get good progress by programming, creating software, creating stuff, new websites and so on, but often there's more debugging than testing. But it's okay to start every project in this area. You don't have to overthink the things to begin, do an MVP, put it out, and so on. But yeah, quality is not a real thing in there. It's just putting out software. But then someone wants to test. Maybe a developer or tester is coming, or someone is forced to. Sometimes the developer who cannot write good code will be the tester in the next iteration or in the next project, and will be forced to do the testing stuff. And the main goal is just to finding bugs. Click around, find bugs, collecting them, bring them to debugging and to fixing. Also very unstructured, and I know a lot of projects who are doing that way of no, not testing, to get a little bit of quality into the project. But then, 20 years ago, there started the first standardization with ISTQB. There's ISO standards about quality, which are older, but ISTQB started 20 years ago. And so testing becomes a profession. So we know to learn in the foundation level and so on how to write test cases, how to measure all our stuff, how to do a test plan, our test schedule, how to do test cases with boundary value analysis and equation partitioning and all this stuff. Maybe we don't use it really in that way, but we know about it. And what I saw, a lot of companies are working in this direction, but they're using this testing stuff on a very high level, on business level, and focusing on this direction to more quality in that. Yeah, and then becomes something mainstream, which was a hard part for us testers. When dealing with all our test cases in Excel and all these tools, something called Agile was on the way. Now today it's more or less state-of-the-art in any hybrid way of Scrum, Kanban, Scrum for Water Scrum or something like that. But with all this Agile doing stuff, very iterative, very fast feedback, we had a huge problem in testing because we had our 1,000 test cases in Excel and someone said, you have to do it every 2 weeks. The regression testing manual, so it doesn't work. And this was the big rise of the test automation tools, as we know today, which helps us to do all the automation stuff. Mainly, it started mainly at the UI path. Not the UI path, the tool, but on the UI level. And what I see when I work with big companies who are still there, testing is there also, and test automation is a tester thing, not a developer thing. So the testers have to do the test automation, the developers have to do the cool code. And the focus was efficiency to put out, to get into these iterations and to make iterations good work, do a lot of regression testing. Yeah, but that changes in the last years, and that I'm very happy because testing gets, and quality gets a more team effort. You know, maybe one of the Agile principles is quality. Everyone is responsible for quality in an Agile project. And if you know also, if everyone is responsible for quality, nobody cares. So the tester often evolves to such, I call it quality wizard. And it's all the part of quality engineering, quality coaching, bringing in to the quality knowledge into the team to talk about with developers about what can they do to quality with static analysis, a good unit testing base, or the test pyramid thing. And people began to chatting about quality and what can we do to bring the product good into the market. And also to share the knowledge on different test automation approaches. When I come to organizations, sometimes they are doing the same thing with UI automation as they do in integration or in unit testing, which is a huge overload and duplication of testing stuff. So the people begin to talk about it, and that's what I'm really happy to see, that all this holistic quality, to see that quality gets a team effort, and I'm really near the tears when I see that working in a good team. Yeah, but now everybody is talking about AI. And I think AI will be, or is, the next big thing which impacts our testers' life. As the Agile was in 15 years ago, where we all have to do all the stuff within the iterations, we now have this new player called AI. And I recently looked at Hugging Face. Does anyone know Hugging Face? Yeah, some hands up. That's a platform where you can publish AI models. And in the evening I looked at at Hugging Face, and there were 1.0 million models available for development, for usage in project. And next time in the morning, I sipped my first coffee, 2,000 more models were available on Hugging Face. So we have now a huge hype and a huge increase of all this stuff. You hear it everywhere, new developments, new implementations of this and that, and you can't get on the edge of that, what's happening there. But it's infecting all our business life or software life. We had a lot of speeches here too, where we see the impact of AI and to development and testing and so. So we are in an AI world, and I want to give some ideas what I think is important for us there. AI is not just our new tool. I think AI is one way to democratize software development. We see it now with the first ideas of vibe coding, of co-piloting, where you don't have to be the perfect expert for software development to build an application. Quality unknown, but everyone is and will be available to build software with a prompt, with coding assistance and so on. But that leads that there will be a huge amount of software in the next months and years for us to test. Quality, questionable. When you look at the Gartner hype cycle, maybe you know it, it shows like technologies grow, they get a hype, then we come to the tiers where we see, okay, the technology doesn't work really, and then technology comes to a plateau of productivity. We saw that with nearly every technology which is evolving and starting to rise. And vibe coding is there still on the increasing part of this hype cycle, and Gartner predicts that this whole hype cycle will go through for vibe coding into the next years. So in the next 2 years, so it should be that in 2 years vibe coding is a very usual practice to do programming. So I think that's a very huge impact for us as a tester because we have to deal with that. The other is that AI is not more than a tool, it's more a colleague. People began to chat with it like a colleague. It's a new team member. I know teams who have now Horst and Anna, they're agents, AI agents they work with in their team who deal with special repeatable tasks to be a coach for them for quality decisions and development decisions. And one part is, I think, very important for us to know. What I realized on my own when I'm using AI is that when using AI, we usually focus more on the outcome and not so much on the process. What do I mean with that? When I get my requirements and I'm doing some test cases for that, I have to think about it. What is there meant? Who can I ask about questions about the requirement? Who's responsible for that? What are the needs from this person? Then I found some gaps. I have to answer them. So I deal with the whole requirement and process it and get knowledge about what the software should do when it comes live. When I say my AI, here's the requirement, create 10 test cases, I can have such an overdone great prompt doing great test cases out that, but I lose everything about the process, about learning from that. And I think that is a big issue for us in the future. How can we stay aware of that knowledge we need about quality and the software, what it should do? I see that also when I'm writing blogs or columns. I was, in the beginning of ChatGPT, totally happy that I can use ChatGPT, let me write my blog posts. It's very nice. But then I realized, okay, but why do I writing a blog post? I'm writing it because I want to rethink something. I want to get some different opinions in there. I want to squeeze my mind what's in there in the topic and not just creating an output. And I think that that's a big deal. A big thing we have to deal also when we're using all the AI stuff, especially in testing. Yeah, so, but what do we need when we go the future of testing? And I think the next level for this evolvement is that we think of what is really important when we do testing. And I think one of the most important things is that we build trust into software. And it's not an AI thing, that's a very human thing. And I think this is one of the things we have to focus in the next month and year, very special, to build trust, to be the one who can build trust and to be, yeah, the good ghost in the whole software development. And I will give you 3, it's not 3, it's 4, there was a little typo on this slide, what we can focus there for the next time. The first one is mastering the basics. It's still there that we have to do our test strategy, what are our test types, our test levels, how can we use our test techniques, so we learn them all in our certification, in our training, but do we really use them? Do we really think about a usable test strategy, or do we just write it down in a test plan and put it into the shelf? So mastering the basics is, I think, the crafting tools we need in the future too. The second is, when it comes to AI and all these tools, it's even important to be more a judge. We have to make decisions as a tester. We have to think about what is really important. How can we prioritize things? We have to analyze things. We have to think, mention out what works really, to make experiments and to analyze and to do good retrospectives. I think this critical thinking is even more important one skill for the next months and years. The third one is, and it's not a new one, but I think for testing they are often not aware how important is it for them that they are good communicators. They are often the one place in the project or in the software where all the knowledge comes in. When I have a question as a tester, a new project, after 2 months I know everyone in the house. I've known the people from ops, from support, from development, from the business perspective. I know everyone. And to build this informal networks more out and to community and to ask about what are really the needs for the software that can take no AI, that needs our attention as people. But also to be they're more empathic about the other people in the project, to think about what do developers need. Have they fear about their job? Maybe we can work together to be a good workforce, a good team. And also, as a tester, with our critical thinking, it's still our task to question the status quo, to think about what is going on here in the project. Do we do the right things? And the fourth is personal development. So how can I be resilient? How can I deal with my mental health? How can I figure out what are my values, my beliefs, and of my team? So it's a very personal stuff, and I think not just a part for the testers, but for everyone, but especially for us testers, because I think our times will get tough in the next years too. And to do all this personal development is so important, to think who is your coach or who can you be a coach for in the team. So I think a skill which is very important. And I added a small fifth 4.5 skill is to simplify our work, to think about how can we reduce the complexity in our daily life. Because complexity is the enemy of execution. So we have to deal with our stuff, with our thousands of test cases, and we have to reduce it to a work that we can deliver in the team for the project in a good way, in a good quality. Yeah, I think we testers, we have a great responsibility for the future. So we can be the victim at the coffee machine and whining, but we can also be they create this future we want to live in testing, in software development. And I think we are used all the impacts over the last 20 years to build our profession, that we gain a good future for our projects too. Thank you very much.
Richard, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And let's see if we have some questions for you. What I'll do is I'll read them for you so you can start to think about them.
Okay.
And 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay. First question from Adam. Is it possible to involve quality engineers in development where the standards require the separation of test and development? Safety critical systems.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we have to split it up into two things. I really like the idea of independent verification and validation of things, but we can, on the other side, communicate with each other on a personal level and to talk about each other. So I think both is possible. It can be combined, and it has to be combined. But what I meant with the communication skills, the informal networks, I think that can help here very, very much.
Okay, the next one. Yeah, I'm interested in this. What can we do if leadership priority is on delivery and not on quality or trust? Because the focus is on short-term gains most of the time.
Yeah. I think we can ask the manager, do you sleep well? Because sometimes we have to find the pain of our managers and get them aware of what we are doing there in all this quality and testing stuff. And there are a lot of examples out there in the media and maybe in your house or in your company where you see where quality has done bad things, bad quality has done bad things, and these are the examples how you can confront the manager to do more quality work. And the sleeping question is a very, very good one.
Okay. Can approaches such as TDD, BDD improve results of vibe coding? Should it be a thing at all?
I think TDD is not really a part I'm really have good expertise because I don't know really many developers who are using that in a daily work and very intense. For BDD, I think BDD has for me more the part of communicating about the requirement and building this example. It's less than that we have then executable test automation, but more to have the discussion about that, which is also very part of communicating and to dealing with the information and not so much the technical approach.
Okay. Do you think the role of a vibe code cleanup engineer will remain relevant as vibe code becomes more mainstream in the next 2 years?
Maybe. I don't know. I think the progress of vibe coding is so fast. It's so fast-paced. I stopped developing a few years ago, like 15 years ago, and started again 2 years ago. And I saw the implementation and how good code is now generated by AI. Not always. You have to be critical at all. I cannot predict what vibe coding will be in the future. And if we needed a cleanup engineer or just rebuild the whole stuff and say, with the next model, do it again.
Okay. Why do we need to know and apply test design in the future if AI can do it as well?
Mm-hmm. That's the part I meant with the focusing on the process or the outcome. Because when I think with my ideas of the test design techniques, not doing it on a paper or something like that, but to think, okay, what are the boundary values here? What are the equalization partitions? What are my state transitions there? It's to understand what's going on in the system. And I think this is very important for us. And sure, I can tell the AI, use this technique for these test cases, and there are tools out there and they can help you, but you learn nothing from that. And I think when we create good test cases, they get out of an idea of thinking about the system and not just taking ready-made test cases. So I think you can take the help from AI in that, but to think about it and to reflect what's going on is very important.
Okay. Why is losing the process such a bad thing? Software development is about solving users' problems, not about the development and or testing process.
Yes, I think that's a good idea. And if the development is very mature, I think that would work very well. But when I look at companies and at projects, there is so much stuff going on, political, organizational problems, technical problems, and all this stuff, that we have to deal with that in the near future. When we have the perfect software development and creating real good solutions for our clients, I think I can get rid of the process too. I have no problem with that.
Okay, how should processes, PLM, SDLC, testing process evolve in this new world?
I think they are still evolving. We are now in a time, I think, where we see that all this agile stuff we are doing the last years mainly was not the real right thing, but to think agile in a more way that we create our own best practices, where we create our own processes with retrospectives and about that, and to chunk it more down. In the ISTQB, we saw the transition from a very formal process to more a buffet of activities, which you can pick one and use it for your own purpose. And I think this is the part we can deal with the processes, to take it as an offer, and you decide as a team what you need from this process.
You mentioned that AI is more of a colleague on a daily basis helping us with our work. Will that colleague replace us in the future eventually?
Oh, hopefully not, but I think there will be an impact. We see the impact now that some people get addicted to ChatGPT, girlfriends, and so on, but yeah, we have to deal with it. We have to be aware of that. So I think more important is that we invest in our personal development, to think critic about what is happening there, what is happening in the media, what is happening with our colleagues and so on, and with ourselves and our kids and our partners and so on. That's not easy. It's hard work, but I think otherwise we will end in a Terminator world or something like that.
Well, listen, my mother uses ChatGPT, and she treats it like her best friend. Anyway, I think she's going to forget about me soon. What informal channels have you seen functioning for teams, communities working abroad?
Yeah, that's not easy if you don't come together, really. But one typical thing is that when you have your official teams groups and so on, that some people use some shadow tools like Slack or something, or Discord, to get more in touch, to use their coffee break in there. And I think that can be a way, which should not be official, because often it's not regulated by compliance from the IT and so on. But we have to find these ways to communicate, to give a call, to chat to each other when we're not sitting next to each other.
Okay, thank you very much, Richard. Wonderful presentation.
Thank you.